Hi there, and welcome to Chimp Chat, a podcast aimed at helping you get the very best from your Mailchimp account. Brought to you by those clever chimps at Chimp Answers, a Mailchimp Pro partner. Mailchimp email marketing is just what we do. Welcome to Chimp Chats. Now, every week we give you the lowdown on how to get more from your email marketing and Mailchimp. Of course, we're keeping you updated on anything that you need to be aware of that's going on in the world of email marketing, and Mailchimp. My name's Robin Adams and I'm the owner of Chimp Answers, and we're a specialist Mailchimp marketing agency. And today we're going to continue with the interview series that we started last week with Simon Harper, with me interviewing another Mailchimp expert, this time Lindsay Carroll from Outbox, who's based down in New Zealand. Had a lovely conversation with her earlier this morning. Lindsay is going to be one of our featured speakers at Chimposium. And if you've not heard about Chimposium or you're not sure what it's about, then go and visit www.chimposium.com. This is a 2-day event that's taking place on the 7th and 8th of October. It's a online live event, and basically it's 2 days worth of Mailchimp experts telling you how to make the most from your email marketing and from Mailchimp. And myself, lots of other experts who I'll be interviewing over the next few weeks. We've got lots of great interviews lined up with people who are real experts at Mailchimp. You're really going to get an awful lot from them. And today I spoke to Lindsay. Lindsay is going to be speaking at Chimposium about welcome emails. So we'll be talking a little bit in the interview about welcome emails, but also she's going to give you a little bit of background in terms of her and where she came from, how she got involved with Mailchimp, some of the things she loves and hates about Mailchimp, but also giving you some valuable insights and tips and advice on how to make the most from your email marketing. So without further ado, I will roll over to the video, and hopefully you're going to find a load of benefits and interesting advice and tips on how to make the most from Mailchimp. So here we go. I'm joined today by the delightful Lindsay Carroll from Outbox. Lindsay's down in New Zealand, so I'm up early or she's up late. One of those two things. How are you doing today, Lindsay? Had a nice day?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, it's night time here, so I'm about to finish up for the day. So I'm a day ahead of you.
Yeah, and
I'm good.
And as you can tell immediately, Lindsay's not got the classic New Zealand accent, so we'll be digging into that a little bit. But just let's go straight into it. Actually, so Lindsay, do you want to kind of like give people a little bit of flavour of who Lindsay is and how you ended up? Well, I suppose what you're doing now and how you ended up doing it. Always good to give some context for people.
Yeah, my name's Lindsay Carroll, and my company is Outbox, which is your preferred partner for WordPress and Mailchimp. So, obviously, as you said, I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. I work virtually around the world, and I've done that for the last 15 years. I mainly work with small to medium-sized businesses, but not all, and getting them to improve their productivity and getting them to market to their customers, obviously mainly on web and Mailchimp. But I do lots of other skills as well, other things I cover for them.
So how did you get into it? How did you kind of like fall into this kind of like, because I know that you've got a little bit of an interesting history, shall we say?
Yeah, I originally, well, if we go right back to where you mentioned before when we were talking, I used to work for John Lewis, so I was on the buying side there. So I think I heard every single sales pitch there was in the world. After 15 odd years, hearing people come in and offer you something to sell every moment of the day, it comes in quite handy there when you're trying to do email marketing and helping people with their sales pitches, because you know what doesn't work and you know what does work.
Definitely.
So that definitely helps. My other history there was I did a lot of IT work and staff training, and actually I had one of their first computers on the office side, if you like, rather than the computer planning side. And in those days there was no mouse, no windows, and I had a huge book of Lotus 123 and started with DOS. So I've sort of worked up from there.
Yeah, I remember Lotus 123.
Yeah, so sort of an over 50s geek, I suppose. We have more devices ping in this house that are mine than my kids. But yeah, so that's sort of the technical side, I suppose. I trained in fashion and creative skills, and I actually did desktop publishing for John Lewis as well. So when we moved over here, it was very much a case of like, what skills am I good at? What do I like doing? I knew one of the main things I wanted to do was work from home and not commute anymore. I think the London Tube done for me after the years. So that's why I came up with the idea of working virtually, and I've done that ever since. So I started off actually specialising in cloud softwares, and eventually Mailchimp just won over them for the email marketing. So that's where I am today with that. Yep.
Cool. And in terms of your special skill set, I'll just buy what I was going to say. In terms of, I remember that commute because in a former life, like we were saying, I actually had to go and visit the John Lewis Partnership head office in Victoria, I think it was. I was in the marketing department for some white goods manufacturers. So, yeah, I remember going in there. So, yeah, and that was probably about, 15, 20, 25 years ago as well. So, yeah, there's a likelihood we were in the same circle. We may not have actually, if you were in fashion, I was in white goods, obviously not really a crossover.
No, I was in lots of different areas. I trained in fashion when I was at college. John Lewis, I did lots of different areas. So yeah, you probably would have passed on in lift or whatever. Yep,
definitely. It's a small world. It's a small world. So obviously now though you're focusing kind of like pretty much on your WordPress and the Mailchimp side of things. What's kind of like would you say makes you stand out from some of the other people in your market that do kind of like similar type of things? So what's your special skill, as it were?
I think probably my experience over the years. I'm trained in business as well. I'm also a chartered marketer with the CIM, which is Chartered Institute of Marketing in Britain, and yeah, I bring all of that together really to help my clients. So a lot of them are small businesses. They might be an excellent plumber or a brilliant beautician, but they haven't got the other side. And I've got a range of those skills which I bring together. So that helps. I also think, I don't know if it's an age thing or not, possibly not. My daughter would tell me off, but you also get more of a social responsibility. I think you should go through. So I do a lot of helping of other things. I donate to Trees for Survival. I help with quite a few causes. So I'm even donating my affiliate fees from the Chimposium to my clients. So yeah, I think it's a matter of giving back as well and actually enjoying doing the work for your clients. I mean, you must feel like that as well, don't you?
Oh, totally. That's what it's all about. You need to, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then, I remember I had a moment of truth probably about 6 years ago where I was involved in, had my fingers in lots of different pies, and I remember I was editing a video for a conference that I'd been involved in filming because I was partnership in a video company, and I was just getting them in the morning going, Robin, you're self-employed. You get to decide what work you do. Why are you doing something that you don't enjoy? You've got an opportunity here to really concentrate and do the stuff that you do want to do. So, I took a little bit of time back and said, well, what is that? And obviously that's put me off my current path. So in terms of talking about the types of people, so what would be your kind of like your favorite type of customer in terms of, size or industry? Have you got a recent customer that you've done some work with? You go, actually, what I really enjoyed. I'd love to, kind of like do more of that.
God, there's lots of them. I wouldn't say there's any particular industry. Probably the ones that actually are happy just to let you get on with it. They know what they need. They know what their objective is. And they're quite happy to just send through the information and say, look, here it is, you deal with it. And to some extent, if they're busy in their own business, you can add more value really quite quickly, rather than people that overthink things. Sometimes people really, really overthink, the shade of pink that they particularly want. And you think, well, really, if it's your brand and it's out there, let's just move it on. Yeah. So yeah, no particular industries. I do find that different people in different industries have different traits, which I find quite funny. I always quote, there's a beautician I worked for, and I asked her to copy and paste something, and she said, "Copy and paste? You must be joking. What's that?"
Oh no! Oh.
I still can't do my nails, so we're all good at something, and that's the fun part of it. Yeah.
No, I get that completely. There's obviously part of the joy of we do is not just the work that we do, but the people we're working with, and I couldn't agree more. Those who've got a clear understanding of what they want and have thought about it, they certainly make, from an implementation point of view, they make things an awful lot easier. So certainly if there are any agencies out there who are listening to this, then I'm sure they completely and utterly tie into that. And my light keeps going off, so I'm just going to have to live in the dark, as it were, for a while. Cool. Right, okay, so let's drill into Mailchimp. Let's actually have a chat about Mailchimp. So what was your first experience of Mailchimp? How did you discover Mailchimp, as it were?
I can't remember how I actually discovered it, but I obviously tried it for myself. I think that was over 10 years ago. I became an expert on one of their first moves, if you like, down that foyer, and then became a pro partner obviously recently. But it's I did try some other platforms at the time. In fact, I partnered with some other platforms, and I just didn't gel with them. And to be honest, it was more my clients, because apparently, according to Mailchimp, which I found out more recently, we are in New Zealand the biggest user per capita of Mailchimp than anywhere in the world.
Wow.
And I think that's due to the fact we have so many small businesses and so many people here run a business. It's really not uncommon. Whereas if I think back to my days in London, I could probably count on one hand people I actually knew owned a business. So really, it was just constant being asked for it, and everybody seemed to use it. It was just their go-to here for email marketing. There are other ones out there in the market now, we all know, but they still seem to keep coming back to it. It's trusted, and I think that's what I learned over the years with all the different cloud softwares. Stick with the one that you know works and go for it, and really specialize in one area. It works, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, our business is 100% focused on Mailchimp. Yeah, we understand websites, we can get involved in that stuff, but we've kind of like focused purely on that side of things. And I couldn't agree more in terms of when people come to me and say, why should I use Mailchimp compared to everyone else? I'm very clear. I say it's not necessarily the most fastest. It's the most not the most technology driven. There are lots of other things that you could argue about Mailchimp and say, oh, it could do better in this and that. I'm sure we'll mention one or two later today. But the one thing I do come back to is the fact that it's consistent, it's reliable, it's trusted, and it does the job. And for 90% of businesses out there who need some form of email marketing tool with a few other bells and whistles that Mailchimp adds in, it does the job. It ticks everything off, and now from that point of view, agree. So, in terms of Mailchimp specifically, so this is kind of like something I do say, because we all love Mailchimp here, but we're also very realistic about Mailchimp, and we understand that there are things that aren't always working in our favour that we'd like to do. So, to start off with, what's the one thing that if you could choose that you love about Mailchimp? Can be absolutely anything related to Mailchimp.
Overall, I love the fact that it's scalable for any size business. So you can be a one-man band or a large corporate, and it will still do everything for you. That's probably it in a nutshell. I love the fact that you can always work round to a solution. So even if it appears that it doesn't, integrate with X, Y, or Z, you can always make it work somehow, whether you use Zapier or whether you set things up in a strange way. And we've had it recently, haven't we, with the new Journey Builder. There's things in there that aren't quite happening yet. And I think for a while it appeared that we'd lost the old classic
automations.
But Alexandra and I know we found it. They weren't hiding it from us. So there's always a way around things, and I suppose that's what I like, is the logical thinking through of a problem and solving it. And you can do that.
No, I agree completely. That's I think because it's been around for such a long time, when other software tools out there are looking through their list of tools that they need to integrate with, Mailchimp's usually one of the first ones they think of. I can think of several CRMs who have got a native integration with Mailchimp, whereas they don't necessarily have a native integration with any other ESPs out there, or EMSs as it were. So that's good. All right, so that's the thing you love about Mailchimp. What's the thing that really gets your goat about Mailchimp? What don't you like? Like I said, we love Mailchimp unapologetically, but like anything, there are always things that you go, oh, I just wish they'd do that a bit better. What would you say for that?
Oh, it's a mixture of love and hate, I think. One of their mottos, isn't it? It's change fast, change hard. And I know Simon completely loses his rag over that. I do actually quite like change, and I'm always up for something. I think sometimes a few things move too fast for the client point of view. But the big one for me is the new free platform doesn't allow you to schedule posts, which really, really grates. A couple of reasons. One is client-based, as in, I think it, especially when you're new to Mailchimp, if somebody's created a campaign, it's very tempting to just go ping, push, send.
Couldn't agree more.
And therefore they might be doing it at 10 o'clock at night, and they'll just bash it out without actually taking into consideration the best time to send, where their clients are, location-wise, who their clients are, what sort of client they are, when is their busy time of day, when isn't it? So that's one side of it. On a personal side, I have been known to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to send a client email because they were on the new free version. So from my point of view, when you live upside down on the other side of the world and you're working for people all around the world, I do sometimes feel I'm in every time zone going. So yeah, that would be my big thing, and to put journey builders on essentials plan rather than standard.
Yeah, no, like I said, I mean, ultimately, we are just people who are using it. We may be experts and passionate about it, but yeah, there's always little bits and pieces that we know would make our life a hell of a lot easier that aren't necessarily kind of like on their plan. But yeah, I always find just that little bit of it gives people opportunity to vent a little bit of frustration of things. You never know. Someone in Mailchimp HQ may be hearing this and go, actually, you know what? Let's do that. So. Cool. All right. And one last question I always ask about Mailchimp before we start getting into how to be good at email. What would you say is the one misconception that a lot of people out there have got about Mailchimp?
Well, also that they think it's free. I mean, it obviously is free, but the misconception is that they think they can do everything on the free version. Now, you can do an awful lot, but I think they're missing a trick. I think I would say the same for any SaaS software out there. You know yourself, if you decide on a software that you want to use and it's suiting your purpose and it's intuitive to you and you like the look, the color, whatever it is, if you pay for the pro version, which often isn't that much, you just get so much more out of it. They're missing out on A/B testing, they're missing out on suggestions for send times, they're missing out on so many things that would make the platform so much better for them. And I think that's sometimes where you get to people moaning, saying it doesn't do this and doesn't do that, because they're on the free.
Yeah.
And I've even known people get to 2,000 names and then start culling their list because they don't want to pay. Why? Why would you do that?
I mean, I mentioned this last week when I was speaking to Simon Harper, was that I always jokingly say that if you have got a business that can't afford to spend £20 a month on kind of like on a pro version of Mailchimp, either Essentials or Standard plan, because you've got to 2,000 subscribers, then you've probably not necessarily doing it the right way or getting it out of it. Now, the fact is, someone pulled me up on this last week after I said that and said, well, what about non-profits and bits and pieces? Well, to start off with, Mailchimp has got, if I remember so right, a non-profit pricing structure. So there is an opportunity for people to actually get, I'll need to do some jigging on this, so don't quote me, but I think there's something there that Mailchimp do actually provide support with. And there's lots of clubs and people out there who are using it. But I think I agree completely. The fact of the matter is that it's free for a reason, and don't be moaning about the fact that you can't do this, that, and the other necessarily on the free level, because you're still getting a massive amount of functionality. But also, don't rule out the fact that you're getting all of these extra benefits if you do move up to the paid level. And I think, people automatically go in thinking that they should get the moon on a stick for the free version, when in actual fact, Mailchimp's entire business model is the freemium model, which is get people hooked in at the free level, and then hopefully as their business grows and develops, they can step up to the paid level, and it's not going to cause them, too many issues. And don't get me wrong, Mailchimp isn't the cheapest out there, but it's by far nowhere near the most expensive as well. And most businesses should be able to, handle, kind of like £20-30 or whatever that is in your own local currency a month, if you're doing your email marketing right. Because let's be honest, the reason you're doing it is to generate revenue in most instances.
But you can also look at it the other way. I mean, I've got some not-for-profits I work for who do pay me, and they are on the paid version. And every once a year we'll do a major fundraising campaign, and because they've got larger lists, they get more donations. So those donations way outstrip a few months' worth, and they can always buy credits rather than a monthly one. I know it doesn't give them quite the same access, but there are other ways around things. And the whole idea is that it makes you more money. So
no,
it does.
No, I agree with you. That's the whole idea. We've worked with a couple of charities as well. We're working with one at the moment and doing a load list management, as it were, to bring down the audiences they've got and manage them. And from a structure point of view, that's going to bring them efficiencies. It's saving them time. And, the fact that when you're on the advanced, the standard level, you've got the customer journey automations and the bits and pieces. It's not, a lot of the time when I'm speaking to people, it's not just about getting more. It's about saving. It's about saving time, saving money, because you're using automations and you're using systems effectively. So, no, I agree. Don't, just because you're on the free level of Mailchimp, don't rule out the paid level because you don't think it's kind of like, you think, well, actually, I can do it. There are lots of things you can get for paid, which is going to make your email marketing a lot more effective than it is at the moment. So definitely a good idea there. Cool. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to move slightly away from Mailchimp specifically, more to kind of like a broader conversation about email marketing. And obviously you've been doing this for a fair amount of time, been using Mailchimp for over 10 years. From your experience, what do you think the most common mistake people make in email marketing? What is the most common mistake that they're likely to make?
Overthinking it. I would say overthinking the content, or making it so long. They're trying to put everything into one newsletter because they haven't done one for years. Where they'd be better splitting it up into lots of smaller ones. And added to that, the ones that are adamant that they want graphics the whole way through, even though when you tell them that some people will have graphics turned off, that I think is probably understanding how email works. That they often think it's just like a website, and it's a different beast. Not putting alt tags in where the pictures are, and definitely not sending a text version of a campaign before they send it. They just don't, because they may not read a newsletter like that. They don't ever think that anybody else can. And I think the funniest one is probably, I'm sure you've had this, is where you do a template and you put in for them like social share buttons. They don't understand the difference between the social share and the social follow. So you put the follows in, and the amount of people that said to me, but I'm not on Twitter. Well, you don't have to be, but your readers might be. So we're giving them it to share. They just don't get the understanding between share and follow. It just doesn't sort of sink in.
It's funny. It's one
times because it's
one of my favourite phrases I use when I speak to people. I've written blog posts about this, and it's one of being a marketer. This is something that I always come back to, and it's I get people in that session repeat after me. I go, "You are not your customer." And it's as you say, everything you said there is the having those blinkers on and going, well, this is how I react to email marketing. Therefore, everybody else reacts to email marketing in exactly the same way. And you and I know that everyone out there doesn't. And this is where, it's almost like, when someone comes to me, and I'm sure you get this, someone says to me, oh, I want to do it this way. And you're sitting there going, right, I'm an email marketing expert. I've been doing this for the last 10, 15 years. I understand what works and what doesn't work. And what you're telling me is not going to work. And it's like, well, why did you come to me in the first place if you're not going to listen to my advice of what I know works or doesn't work? I always get very frustrated with, one or two of my clients where they go, oh, can we do this? And I'm going, it's not going to work. And they're going, oh, but can we just try it? And I go, look, it's not going to work. And we try it because they want to do it, and it doesn't work. And I don't sit there saying, told you so. But yeah, that idea of being very insular and blinkered about the client, the client being very blinkered is a challenge, I think, that every agency faces, Lindsay. It's always a challenge, isn't it?
I think it is. I tend to try and speak to my clients and turn it round to them being in that position. So, for instance, people will say, why can't I want to send one every 5 minutes? It depends on the industry. There's so many things it depends on. And I always say to them, well, think, if you get an email from somebody every week and all they're doing is wanting to sell to you, do you keep opening it? Or are you more inclined to open the ones that have got something interesting and educational and you learn from? And it's still got an offer, but you don't always want to buy the offer, but you'll still open it because there's something informative. And then they go, oh, yeah, I do that. And you go, well, if you do it, what about other people? And it's like the spam thing. I have a saying that spam is in the eye of the receiver. It's irrelevant whether you think that you want to send your stuff to everybody every 5 minutes and and that you've put people on your list that shouldn't be there because you haven't asked for permission. Don't go with me on that one. And then when you sort of say, look, it doesn't really matter whether you're spamming them or you're not. If they think you're spamming them, you are. It's irrelevant what law you're breaking, or you can argue all day long, but don't send things to people who don't want it. And that's the end of it, really.
No, I couldn't agree with. I spoke to Simon. We got quite into the ethics of email and that privacy and bits and pieces last week. So if you hadn't listened to that, chatting to Simon Harper, who's basically speaking at Chimposium about iOS 15, but privacy and other bits and pieces. So we got into that there and couldn't agree more. The fact of the matter is that people opt with their feet, as it were. It's like if they want to come, they're the ones who are going to tell you whether they're going to like it or not. And if they classify you as spam, don't sit there and complain. That's their choice. If you've done something to cause that, that's on you, as it were. They're making the decision. So yeah, couldn't agree more. Right, okay. First question, I always like to ask a question about beginners and taking it to the next level. To start off with, someone comes to you who's got a fledgling business and they're looking at doing email marketing. What would you suggest? What are a couple of first steps that they would want to consider when it comes to doing email marketing for their business? You can take this in any direction you want.
Yeah, I do actually specialise in setting people up and getting them a template and getting them up and running correctly. So the basics of things like, I don't know about how many you've seen, but I've seen lots where people will have an audience and they'll give it a name thinking that their customers are never going to see it, or they can see it, especially if you've not set your template up right. And they'll name ridiculous things like, people that are likely to spend over $1,000, or people's business cards I got in networking, or your customers see that. Yeah, I know, really like, don't go there. So I normally say to people, what's your objective? Why do you want to do this? What have you heard? And what do you want to achieve from it? And hopefully they've got something along those lines. Some people don't at all. They just go, I've been told I need to use it.
Yeah.
But hopefully if I can get them started up, get the account set up correctly, get them using a template, and we do the first send out, and then I have all sorts of ways of they can either use me in the future or they can replicate themselves, and I've got things in place to help them do that. I think that's the main thing, and I think really just to get something sent out. I think that's the first thing, is get something sent out and use it once, and you keep learning. You build on that.
No, it's a really valid point. I've talked with clients and everything. The whole activity implementation trumps thought at times. It's like, the best way to actually work out whether something works or not is not sit there thinking about it. It's to actually do it and then learn from it as well. So that's really good advice. And what about those people who have been doing email marketing for a while and want to take it to the next level? What advice would you potentially, what tips have you got for them, things that you've come across that would be a good thing for them to do?
I tend to look at their account first and see what they have and haven't done. I mean, that tells you an awful lot.
Definitely.
Yes, say we take it that it's all going along swimmingly, they're doing newsletters, and that's probably all they're doing at the moment, which is what most people do. I think landing pages are really good. I'm a great fan of landing pages.
Me too.
I think people underuse them. They can use them for events, for just building your list. There's so many things you can be using them for. They also probably aren't A/B testing, but then again, it depends what plan they're on, and really they need a good number of people on their list to make that work. If they're under about 5,000, it's just not worth doing. So say they can't A/B test, then look at other things. Let's look at the clicks and learn from them. Like, as I said, are they reading your blog? Are they looking at your offer? And move things around in that newsletter. Prove what you've got. Look at those reports. So many people never look at the stats. And then try other features. I'll be on my soapbox later on about I call it circular marketing. But just email marketing isn't going to be enough. There's so many areas of marketing that you can do. So even within Mailchimp, there's the postcards. Now, it doesn't work that particularly brilliant in New Zealand because it takes forever to get them here. And at the moment, because we've got no blooming planes coming in, they don't get here. But, if you were other parts of the world, they can be really powerful. Start using segments and tags. Use the smart recommendations. Abandoned cart emails. It really depends what they've done so far.
Yeah.
Whether they're e-commerce, service industry, I can usually come up with some good ideas, depending on what they're doing really and what they're selling and where they want to go. Again, it comes back to what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer you can't do everything. Unless you've got budgets galore, you have to pick the things that suit your business or your club or whatever it is you're using it for, and get those things to work for you.
No, I agree completely. It's one of the things that I've seen. Well, I'm sure you suffer from this as well. We sit here and we know that there's lots of ways that we could market our business and talk, but the fact of the matter is that there's only so many hours in the day, only so much budget, only so many people that we can ask to help us to get to a point, and it's picking the right, how shall we say, picking the right battles for your market and for the products that you're operating in. And no, I agree. There are so many things that you can do with Mailchimp that people don't realize, and it's almost, there's a part of me that goes, if you're in that level where you'll feel your email marketing has reached a certain point and you want to take it to the next level, literally just go and look at the Mailchimp standard features page and just look through it and see what you're not doing, because there's going to be a number of ideas there of things that you can actually do which you're not going to pay any more for because it's part of your standard plan, but could really take it to the next level. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. That really like that. Right, okay. So the reason, obviously, that we're having this chat today, and the reason I've kind of like started to do the interviews is obviously because we've got Chimposium coming up on the 7th of 8th of October. For those of you who aren't aware of it, go visit chimposium.com, where all the information, it's a 2-day event. We've got 12 speakers, all of them Mailchimp experts, and Lindsay's one of them. And Lindsay's going to be talking about welcome emails. Now, obviously, we don't want to give you the chance to give everything away of what you're going to talk about here. But do you want to give kind of like a couple of nuggets? Because obviously, I've talked about welcome emails on this podcast quite a few episodes ago and how important they are. But when it comes to welcome emails, I suppose what would you say is the biggest thing that people don't do? Is it they don't even do them, or are there other stuff in there?
Biggest thing is they don't do them. I think that you think nail on the head there. I think people just think it's an automatic trigger. Oh, if they join the list, we'll send out an email, and I think they underthink what they could be doing. I mean, even if, for instance, on mine, I say, "What are you interested in? Mailchimp, WordPress, or other?"
Yeah.
And you can, once you've got that information, you can then split those off. You could have 2 different welcome emails, and don't just think of it just as welcome. It could be that they come out of a landing page and it's still a sequence series. It's still a welcome email, if you like, because they happen to have joined an event that you're doing, or an offer that you're signing up. So I suppose it's a bit like everybody calls newsletters, whereas actually they're campaigns, and you can do hundreds of different campaigns doing different things. I would say the same with welcome emails. We all think of them as a welcome email, as in, hello, you're here.
Yeah.
But you can take it to the next step. And really just, my tip would be to people, go into your account now, go as if you're going to set up an automation and look at all the different triggers that there are. And I think that in itself would make people think, oh, didn't know I could do that. It doesn't have to just be they've signed up to your list. That's obviously the main one.
I really like that. That's kind of like just the way you put that across. That was suddenly, it was ticking. I get lots of bells, ding, 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 ding in my head, as it were, when you said that. I think that's that concept of there is no such thing as one welcome email. I think that's a really interesting kind of like idea that a lot of people, like you say, first of all, you got the people who aren't doing it. Well, obviously you'll go into what the benefits of welcome, but those people who are, they're kind of like, right, I've got a welcome email, right, what's next? And it's like, no, there are lots of different versions of it, and I think that's a really powerful message to kind of like to spread the word on.
And also that change it, update it, like your website, you should update regularly. You could do the same with your welcome email. So say for instance, now on my first welcome email, I had we also have to build a house.
The reason I'm sitting here cringing because I know that I'm one of the worst at kind of like, I wrote my welcome email and it's like, don't worry, every episode of these I've had, I've spoken to someone, they've said something, got, oh Christ, that's something I need to do as well. Need to update my welcome email. It's probably not as fresh as it could be.
You're not alone. I do more for clients than I do for myself. That's what I call builder's house.
Totally, yeah. So
everybody, I think. But but yes, say for instance, I've got Chimposium coming up. Well, why not put that on why not just slot that into my first one, so that anybody, they'll see it, or maybe the second one. But you don't have to use them completely static. Okay, not everybody in your sequence will have seen everything the same, but then once they've joined your list, you're probably sending out that information in a normal campaign anyway.
Yeah.
So why not, if they missed that email last week, why not slot it into your welcome one this week?
Definitely.
It's all work, it's all extra things, but it's things to think about, and that's what I think Chimposium is giving people ideas of what they could do, and then they pick the cherries of what they want to do.
Brilliant. I really, sorry, you've got my brain ticking now. Just that kind of like, there's no such thing as one welcome email, just as a concept. The way that very clearly expresses itself, I really like that, and I think the way that you explain that, actually, I'm thinking, damn it, why didn't I think of that? That's a really nice way of putting it. So obviously out there, Lindsay's going to be one of the speakers at Chimposium, 7th and 8th October. If you haven't heard from it or know it, just basically do a search for Chimposium or type chimposium.com. Website's there, all the information, all the speakers and all we're talking about. And if you want to know about welcome emails, then make sure you tune in for Lindsay's talk. So that'd be fantastic. Right, the last question I like to ask all of our experts, as it were, before we get into the quick fire round. What do you think separates those people who are successful at email marketing to those who are not? What's the one thing that those people who are good at email marketing do that others don't?
Yeah, I can think of a few, but probably the main one is giving something of value. As I said earlier on, what do you like to open? And I just think who reads your emails and what they might want to read about. That's probably my one thing. And share your knowledge. And be knowledgeable in your field. I mean, I had one client for years, and he's what I call on the untouchable list, because Mailchimp have a list of areas who they won't allow to market, and one of them is mortgage brokers, of which actually I have a few, because I've managed to get them all through without being blocked.
Funny, so I've got a couple as well. If you're ethical and above board, you're probably not going to have any issues.
No issue. So. And the reason I think he did so well with it, he only used email marketing for his marketing, didn't use any other system, but he always wrote very good emails, always very informative. The design we did was very succinct, and led back to his blog. Everything was a blog post. And basically, they won awards, award after award, for best mortgage brokers in Auckland and New Zealand, actually. Purely because he thought about it and gave his customers something of value. And the lists weren't enormous. They were big enough. They certainly weren't tiny. But by doing that, it grew. It grew and grew over the years. So I think that just shows, you've got to give people content they want to read, and make it easy.
That's really that's a really valuable thing. Yeah, one of the things that I've seen, and obviously you just said it, that separates the wheat from the chaff, the good from the bad, is the people who send out value get value in return, and they almost understand that there is a value exchange. If you give value, you will receive value. If you don't give value, you ain't going to get value back. So that's a very, very good point, and I think anyone who's listening to it needs to make sure they're doing that. Definitely.
Yeah, I also think people forget that part of the marketing is to keep yourself in front of people. I mean, I always like it to a real estate agent, which they do a lot of here, because they sort of work for themselves. It's different from the British setup. Yeah. And they'll regularly put direct marketing in your post box. So, okay, you pick it up, you take it to the bin, you put it in the bin, but you've still seen who it was. Yes. And to some extent, email marketing is the posh version of that, where they're not going to want to buy from you every 5 minutes, and it depends again what industry you're in. They're not all the same. I mean, there's certain places in Britain that sell me clothes shops, and I always open them and I always tend to buy. But, you're keeping in front of them, and that's what you want to do. But if you make it so they're not going to open it next month, you won't be keeping in front of them, not as much anyway. Yeah,
definitely a virtuous cycle. People's experience of previous emails dictate whether they're going to open future emails. So if you've given good stuff in the past, they'll open in the future. No, definitely. Yeah. Right, okay. Before we get into kind of like the final question and the opportunity for you to get onto your soapbox and preach to the masses, as it were, I would like to do a little bit of quick fire round. So just basically, I'll chuck questions out, a quick answer. So, okay, favourite food?
Cheese.
Ooh, interesting. What do you do to relax?
Oh, I like food. I love cooking. Kayaking, sewing, yeah, anything creative really. Yeah.
Okay, favourite TV comedy program?
Oh, tricky. I suppose an old favourite's got to be 40 Towers, hasn't it? You
Oh,
can't beat that.
can't beat 40 Towers. Um, what's your favourite film?
Oh, it's got to be Love Actually. Purely because I think I've watched it so many blooming times. I know the script off by heart. I've got a friend who takes the mickey out of me. She hates it with a vengeance. But yeah, it's become a bit of a family quotable one.
Uh,
So I'd be that one. Plenty of
I,
others, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. What do you listen to when you need to pick yourself up?
I'm listening to music most of the time actually when I'm doing creative stuff. Yeah, pop rock type stuff. So picking myself up would probably be Queen. Working quietly would probably be Adele. You know, it depends what the work is.
No. Mac or PC?
Nowadays Mac, but if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I was a solid PC girl. I hated Apple with a vengeance. Yeah, I have totally gone to the dark side, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. Here's a good one for you. Best WordPress form tool or plugin?
Oh, God, lots of them. Well, for me, probably WP Manage because it means I can manage all my client sites from one, which I use all the time. Again, it depends on the client, but definitely those ones like Yoast, WP Manage, WordFence, all those ones that go into every site, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And best form tool that integrates with Mailchimp from a WordPress website?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I actually prefer the HTML code and I code it myself.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ones out there. Yeah, Mailchimp for WordPress is probably the main one. But again, it often depends on people's themes and things as well. Some things work, some things don't.
Yeah.
But I'm a great believer if you can connect it straight to Mailchimp and not have to go through a third thing. Yeah, that would be my preference.
Good answer. Cool. Right, okay, thanks for that. Right, like I like to give everyone that I speak to the opportunity to get on their soapbox. We've all got things that we get very frustrated about or passionate about when it comes to email marketing, Mailchimp, and whatever. So the floor is yours. Get on your soapbox and tell us what do you get passionate about when you speak to people that something that you think they could be doing better or doing differently. The floor is yours.
I suppose probably the most regular conversation I have with people is the use of blogs and Mailchimp. Purely because everybody says, I don't know what to send, I don't know what to put. So you go through giving them ideas, but you can get so much mileage out of a blog. And that's where it ties in with the WordPress as well. That's why I use the two together. So I'm doing a talk on this soon, actually, through there's a government website called Digital Boost. And I'm doing a talk on that for people that need to get digitally wise, if you like. And I call it circular marketing. And I also have this view that in the middle of everything, in your wheel cog, is your website.
Yep.
And everything you do marketing wise goes to that website and back out again. And you keep those circular movements going. So what do I mean by that? When you write your blog, you put it on your website, you send it out on your newsletter with just a little taster with a link back so you can track that link. You can then take that same blog and put it on all your social media platforms. You can then use that even when you're on social and somebody asks about something. It then networking groups, you've got value to add there, and on top of that, you've then got all that SEO where people will like Google something, and you've got a wealth of stuff that you could blog about. Now we all know we need to do more, and a lot of us don't do as many as we'd like. But if you can get into that, if your problem is finding content, get a blog or have somebody write it for you.
Mm-hmm.
just get into, even if it's just one a month that you get into a process of, give it to someone like me. We can get it onto your website. We can get it sent out. And you've done it by doing that one blog. You've done email marketing, blog, you've done a bit of SEO, you've got content for your social media, you've got the lot. So that one item can pay back dividends. And it's just keeping that circular marketing going. And before you pay out for SEO and all of the other stuff, that to me gives the best value at the cheapest price.
Love it.
And
Love it.
And it gives the chance to share their knowledge. Why not do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. Couldn't agree more. That visual of kind of like of a wheel with a hub in the middle and the website being the hub and all the stuff around it. That's a visual that I use with a number of my clients as well. So yeah, if you're struggling and you're not sure, actually having that model where you're using a blog on your website as the core communication tool to go out, fantastic. Really, really good advice for anyone who's not doing that. So cool. Right, okay, so we'll now wrap up. So for those people who want to get in touch with you, Lindsay, or learn more about your business, where can they find you?
Right, I'm at outbox.co.nz. So just think of sending something to your outbox and considering it done, which is how the idea came up. Thank you, Outlook. So yeah, outbox.co.nz, and NZ stands for New Zealand. So cool. We don't do any of this UK.
Can people find you on social media?
They can. Most of the social channels, my handle, if you like, is Outbox NZ.
Yeah.
So again, just Outbox and then NZ for New Zealand. And otherwise, just go to our website and all my social links are on the bottom there. So you can find me from there.
Brilliant. Okay. Really appreciate you taking the time for joining me today. There was some real good stuff in there. I'm going to go back to that. There's not just one, there's no such thing as one welcome email. That's one that's going to stick with me for a little bit. And there's lots of other really good bits and nuggets of advice there. And I hope that everyone who's listening has got a load of value from today. But obviously, half of today is as well is to let you know Lindsay will be speaking at Chimposium along with a load of other marketing and Mailchimp experts to give you the lowdown on how to make the most of Mailchimp. And we're kind of like, we're putting the message out at the moment, getting as many people aware of it as possible so they can come along and get tickets. And I think one of the things that separates this event from a lot of others, probably most others there, is that all the people who are speaking are experts. Lindsay is an expert. I'm an expert. We use Mailchimp every day, which means you're not going to get all of this kind of like conceptual mindset and planning and big picture stuff. This is stuff from people who use it, who know how it works and know how to make it work. So hopefully you got some good idea today. And Lindsay, like I said, will be speaking at Chimposium on the 7th and 8th of October, focusing on welcome emails. But obviously, her, like a lot of other people, have got a lot of breadth of experience in a whole variety of areas as well. So thanks very much, Lindsay. Really appreciate it coming along today. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Thank you very much. Looking forward to Chimposium. I think it's going to be so much information in there for people. I think it's definitely worth them getting a ticket. I think the early birds ends at the 29th, doesn't it?
We actually shifted it. So basically, the early bird tickets, if you're listening to this too late, I apologise. But the launch price offer finishes at 10 p.m. PST, that's Pacific time, on August the 31st. So basically at the end of August 31st. So for us in the UK, we get a little bit of extra time. I think that's probably going to be halfway through the day down in New Zealand, as it were. But keep an eye out for that. And I'm sure all of the people who are speaking will be talking about it as well. But if you want to just learn about the event, go to see chimposium.com. It's all going to be there. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Lindsay. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks for all of the value and insights that you've given. And I hope to catch up with you very soon indeed.
And you. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, guys. A very nice conversation I had there with Lindsay Carroll. I hope you got lots of value from it. I certainly did. The great thing about doing these interviews is that it's not just about the stuff that you can take away, but there's always value and stuff that I'm picking up from these conversations. So a couple of really good nuggets there. So thanks very much for watching. Just remember, you can always catch up on previous episodes on Facebook, on YouTube, on our website, or on whatever platform you get your podcasts from. Next week, we're going to be continuing our interview series. We're going to be interviewing another person who is going to be speaking at Chimposium. But otherwise, thanks for watching or listening wherever you are. If you've got questions, always remember to pop into the Mailchimp Answers Facebook group, post them and get the answers that you need to Mailchimp, and look forward to catching up with you next time. Thanks for listening, and if you found this podcast really helpful, then here's what you can do next to broaden your understanding of Mailchimp. You can join our free Facebook group. It's the biggest Mailchimp support group in the world. Just search Mailchimp Answers on Facebook. You can take our free Mailchimp Medical to find out the health of your Mailchimp account and what you can do to improve it. Just visit chimpanswers.com and follow the prompts. And of course you can get in touch with us. If you like one-to-one support, advice, tips or whatever, just visit chimpanswers.com, which also has got one of the largest resources of Mailchimp blogs and advice available out there to get the information that you need. Thanks again, and we'll see you very soon.